So, Ryan, the Father's House, a homelessness ministry that's part of a church in Tennessee, they received a cease and desist letter that is impacting their operations. Can you explain what's going on here?
Absolutely. So, as you said, the Father's House is a ministry run by a husband and wife who actually were drug addicts themselves. And then they escaped that drug addiction. And now they feel called to go into ministry to minister to other men who are seeking to escape the trappings of drug addiction. And when they decided they wanted to do this, they reached out to the city, asked what needed to be done, and the city basically told them that nothing needed to be done and that they were free to do this. They then went on to get approval from the Tennessee Department of Corrections to be transitional housing for the very type of men that they're targeting to help. And after all of this happened, the city suddenly changed its tune and said that they needed to install sprinklers and a firewall in the facility at a cost of about $85,000, which would just be crippling to them. And since then, they sent them a cease and desist order that says they cannot operate this ministry until they meet those requirements.
Now, this is Westmoreland, Tennessee, the city where this is going on. And as you said, according to the account here, they were given clearance to do this. Now, this particular structure is tied to a local church, correct?
It is. It's an extension that was built upon an original church, and I think the extension was built in the 90s.
So the sticking point for the city, according to the cease and desist letter, are these sprinklers and other things that have to do with city ordinances, right?
Correct.
So what has this done now? And I think this is probably the answer is probably implicit in what I'm about to ask you. But here is this organization, this husband and wife. They're looking to do this good work of helping people transition out of prison, escape homelessness, overcome drug and substance abuse and addiction. And they get this cease and desist letter. What does that mean for their operations?
At the moment, it has crippled their ministry where they're not able to operate it. They're not able to help people who are on the streets right now and who are in desperate need of help and have nowhere else to go.
Were they previously, before this cease and desist, because I know they were getting up and running, had they already started housing people before this, or did this come down before they were able to start?
They were in the early process and were housing one individual maybe. It was very early on, but since that cease and desist letter in August, they have been halted.
Now, First Liberty has come into this case, and you, along with another law firm, sent off a letter to the city there. What are you hoping to gain through that letter?
Absolutely. We're hoping that the city does the right thing. Through this letter, we're hoping that we can work with the city and help them to see the error of their ways and help them to understand the value that the Father's House will bring to their community and helping their citizens.
Yeah, from the city's perspective, is the fear a fear of fires or other issues? You're looking at ordinances that are on the books, and yet you have this organization, again, tied to a church, trying to do this good work and actually help the city out, because if churches and people don't step in to do this work, who does it fall on? It falls to government resource to then house people and do this. And we know the government is not as efficient as obviously individuals and churches are. So really, what is behind this?
What the city has said is that they're concerned about fire safety, but digging into the codes a little bit, and I won't dig too far into the legal weeds on this, we believe that the city is misapplying its own code and that the requirements they are attempting to impose on the Father's House do not in fact apply to them. So that begs the question of if there's hostility to their religious ministry that they're trying to run and the types of people that they're trying to house.
So let's say the city ignores the letter here that your law firm and another law firm have sent to them. Let's say the cease and desist letter does not go away and this ministry, the Father's House, is continually crippled. What would come next in this case?
If we cannot convince the city to do the right thing, then our clients will have to take the next steps to assert their legal rights. They are protected by both state and federal law. Tennessee has a special statute that protects religious practices and says that the government cannot burden those practices unless it has a really, really good reason for doing so and is accomplishing that goal through the least burdensome means possible. And here, the crippling amounts that they're trying to force this ministry to pay are not the least restrictive means of accomplishing their goal.
Now, have there been similar cases to this where there's been a favorable outcome to those seeking it? In this case, the husband and wife and the ministry.
I'm not aware of any other similar cases to this. This one is pretty unique, honestly.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and explaining this. You know, we've seen a number of these cases where individuals are feeding the homeless out in parks. You know, there are different cases that aren't quite, equitable to this one. But the point is, people are trying to do good work, and there are government restrictions and regulations that often prevent that work from being done. And of course, everybody wants to see safety and all of that. And we understand regulations to a degree. But this is intriguing in that they were purportedly told they could do it. Something changed. And before you go, actually, do you have any indication of what changed between them saying they didn't need any other permits and everything was good, and suddenly they received this cease and desist?
We don't know, and we're hoping to find out that answer as we work with the city and hopefully get them to do the right thing.
Well, Ryan, I so appreciate your time in coming on. I'm looking forward to catching up with you more on this case as it develops.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to learn more about this case or any other, just go to firstliberty.org.